This game won Game of the Year, and yet so many people hate it. But why? Why would a game they won 9 awards be so hated? I mean 8 rewards cause of the AI stuff. Anyway, I'm not here to glaze this game and I'm not here to hate on it either. I was curious, so I bought it, I played for myself and I started digging deeper. And what I found was really interesting.
I say, Asmongold was right.
Because when this game launched, it wasn't just popular. It was treated like the next game of the generation. The hype train was at full speed, and that's where the real problem begins. The first trailer drops and players immediately go bananas. Not because they explained much, but because they felt different.
Whoa, I'm loving it. Oh, this is cool.
The designs, the character, the enemy designs, oh my god, it's so cool.
Stylized combat, cinematic presentation, and enough mystery to let players fill in the blanks. Naturally, people wanted more. Reddit threads started popping off, and when the game finally launched in April 2025, the hype doesn't slow down. It accelerates. Big streamers jump in, clips go viral. Suddenly, this isn't just a game anymore. It's being framed as a future Game of the Year contender. And this is important. A lot of players didn't discover Expedition 33 on their own. They discovered it through streamers, through reactions, and through excitement that wasn't theirs yet. So when 3.3 million copies were sold in a month, that sounded like success. But here's the problem, not everyone was sold for the same reason. Some players came in excited to discover, others came in to be blown away. And when those expectations weren't met, that excitement flipped into disappointment. Nowhere does this clash hit harder than when the players actually pick up the controller, because the second reason this game became so controversial is its combat. Why combat matters? The combat is the biggest divider in Expedition 33. Some players love it, others absolutely hate it. And that split isn't random. It comes directly from how the combat is designed. On paper, this looks like a turn-based RPG, but in practice, it isn't. The game asks you to parry, dodge, jump, all of this in real time, inside the turn-based framework. And when it works, it feels incredible. You nail a parry, your character pulls off a stylish animation, and suddenly you're dominating fights. But if it doesn't click, enemies delete you. You replay missions, progression is slow to a crawl, not because your build is bad, but because your timing is.
What's a scrawny shit like you gonna do to the paintress, eh?
And this is where the problem starts. Expedition 33 isn't a traditional JRPG. In most RPGs, stats, builds and preparation compensate for mechanical mistakes. And here, learning boss patterns trivializes combat. Skill becomes more important than planning, which makes progression system feel kinda pointless. But other games did this too. To be clear, this isn't new. Super Mario RPG did the timing-based combat, Mario and Luigi built entire systems around it, but those games were designed around clarity. Expedition 33 goes further, and that's where it stumbles. Half the time, parry doesn't feel learned, they feel accidental. Melee attacks, you can read the animation, but spells, there's no clear indicator, no visual language, you're reacting blind, and when you fail, the punishment is extreme. And this creates a bigger issue, because when the combat, the core interaction pushes player away, everything else in the game starts to matter less. And the third reason Expedition 33 became so divided in the gaming community isn't the combat, it's identity. What kind of game is this supposed to be? This game has too many labels. This game is often labeled as an RPG, sometimes as a JRPG. But once you start playing, it becomes hard to pin down what it actually is. It wants to become Final Fantasy. It borrows vibes from Persona. It flirts with the classic JRPG structure, but it never fully commits to any of them. Players quickly start to recognize the systems, themes you've experienced before like morality, sacrifice and one last journey. None of this is new, and because the game pulls from so many places, it can feel like it's recycling ideas instead of building an identity. And this is where the criticism starts to make sense. Players don't feel like they're discovering something new, they feel they're recognizing things they already know, without a strong reason for why they're here. That's why people say, this game copies everything! Not because it literally does, but because it never clearly says what it wants to be. And to be fair, borrowing ideas isn't a problem. Every RPG does that. Originality doesn't come from the new teams, it comes from the presentation. Expedition 33 isn't original because of the ideas, it's original because of how it presents them. The art direction, the tone, the way the story frames familiar themes. That's what makes it memorable, even when the ideas themselves aren't new. And this is why reactions are so split. Some players see a stylish remix with a strong presentation. Others see a game that powers everything and commits to nothing. Same game, very different expectations. And here is the really funny part. Despite all this, the hype, the combat frustration, the identity confusion, a lot of players still finish the game. And the reason isn't the systems, it's the story. The way scenes are framed, the pacing, and especially the music. All of this working together to create emotion, even when the gameplay system doesn't. There were moments where I wasn't playing because I loved the combat. I was playing because I wanted to see what happens next. The story doesn't fix the game's problems, but it carries the experience forward. It gives players a reason to push through frustration, and for some people, that's enough. So when you put everything together, the backlash starts to make sense. Expedition didn't fail because it was bad, it struggled because different players were promised different games. The hype told players this was the game of the generation experience. The combat rewarded some and rejected others. The RPG system borrowed familiar ideas without a clear identity. When expectations weren't met, disappointment turned into anger. But at the same time, the story, the art direction, and the music gave the game a soul for many players. Not because it was revolutionary, but because it made familiar ideas feel emotional and memorable. And that's why reactions to these games are so extreme. If the comic clicks for you, if the presentation pulls you in, you'll probably love it. If you didn't, no amount of awards were going to change that. Expedition 33 isn't a bad game, it's a game that asks too many people to love it for the same reason, when it was built for very different ones. Thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful day.